Hi guys, and welcome back to Fit with T. I hope you guys are good. So today is another video in the Sprinting ABC series, and I is for isometric strength. So what are isometric and how do they relate to sprinting? So isometrics is essentially where your muscle is contracting but it's not lengthening or shortening. They just stay the same, so there's no movement of the muscle, right? So you're just holding that muscle in this position while contraction is happening, while there's a force being applied to it, right? So think about a squat against the wall. That's an isometric movement. The muscles are under contraction, there's a neuromuscular contraction happening. The muscles are having to work, but they're staying the same length in that exercise, right? So how does this relate to sprinting? Now, when you are doing a movement and you're moving from a eccentric to concentric movement, there's a slight pause that happens. So think about when you do a squat, on your way down would be your eccentric part of the motion. When you get to that bottom of the squat, there's a slight pause before you push up concentrically, right? So the same thing happens when you're sprinting. When we apply force to the ground, there is a slight pause that happens before we react off of it. Whether that pause is minimal, like I spoke about in this video, there's still a slight pause that happens, right? And so developing your isometric strength, it can be actually a way to help, again, improve your sprinting. So when it comes to upright running in particular, so your max velocity running, isometric strength, developing isometric strength can be really helpful and useful, because when you do apply that force to the ground, when your foot comes in contact with the ground, you want to have good stabilization at the joints, which means there's less movement, less energy leakage, right? And you're able to be a bit more springy, react off that ground quicker. So that's why we do isometrics. That's why we develop isometric strength, because we want to develop that just to maximize everything that we can with regards to our sprinting, right? So when we sprint, we do utilize 3 different joints. We've got the ankle joint, we've got the knee joint, and we've got the hip joint. All 3 of those joints need to work. So we want to think about isometric around all 3 of those joints, around angles for the ankle, knee, and hip that are relevant to sprinting. Your ankle is usually more in a plantar flex position by the time you touch the ground. Obviously, we're in a dorsiflex before we get there so that we land on the ball of our foot. But when we actually touch the ground, our foot is in a slight plantar flexion. When it comes to the knee and the hip joint, there's a slight bend in those, and then obviously we extend again as we push off. So think about the different angles that you want to mimic when you're doing your isometric, so that you can have the most specific isometric strength, if that makes sense. So what you have access to in your gym, at home, so that's going to play a factor as to what kind of isometrics you can do, right? You can use both lying down position, standing up position. Now, I don't have access to a Smith machine, which is a really useful way to do isometrics from a standing position, you know, having your knee on hip bend, or, you know, pushing upwards, which is what we kind of have that vertical action when we sprint. I don't have access to that. So if you're someone like me who doesn't have access to a Smith machine or a rack where you can put in the, I can't remember what it's called now, if you don't have access to something like that in your gym, most people have access to a leg press machine. On the leg press machine, we can do isometrics for our ankle, for our knee. So I'm also going to show you some isometrics that I do primarily for my hamstring tendons, right? But they're still isometric for the knee joint and the hip joint, because you have a slight bend in those positions and you can change the angle. Okay, so on the leg press machine, you're going to want to put the weight to something heavy. Remember, you're trying to develop isometric strength, so it's going to be challenging enough that when you push back with 2 legs, it does take some effort for you to push back, but that you can hold with a single leg. So of course you're not going up and down with the single leg, so all you need to be able to do is hold it, and it needs to have a bit of effort to that hold. You also don't want to overexert yourself, so just gradually increase the weight, but remember, it needs to be heavy for where you are at present, and as you get stronger you can continue to increase it. So you're going to push out with both legs, and then on one leg you're going to hold with a slight bend in your knee. Now, when I have trainers on, it looks as though my feet are flat. However, I'm actually pushing on the ball of my foot. As part of my prehab, I generally do 3 times 8 seconds each leg. That's per set, and then I do 3 sets generally, and I follow that with a double leg calf raise. I do this primarily for my Achilles. However, like I said, this is going to be isometrics for both the ankle joint and the knee joint. If you want some more isometrics for your ankle, then you can check out my ankle strengthening video where I show you guys some more in there as well. Or the other thing that you can also adjust is how high you place your foot on the leg press board. So I've got it quite low down, but you can also have it higher up, and again play with that so you have different positions that you push through your foot just to strengthen the muscle around the ankle and the knee joint. So the next exercise I'm going to show you guys is the hamstring isometrics that I do. So as I said before, I primarily do this for my hamstring tendon. However, this is also going to help you to strengthen up the muscles around your knee and also your hip. You're going to push up from your hip, and you're also going to be lifting in a reverse bridge, so therefore you're going to be working your hamstrings and glutes as well. So with this exercise, you're going to be able to work at different angles. So in this video at the moment, I'm at a short angle. I am lifting with with 2 legs, and then I'm holding with a single leg. So you can adjust this, play with this as you want to. So ways that you can adjust it can be with the angle. So you can do a short angle at the knee. So at the moment my knee angled around 90 degrees. You can open up the angle a bit more to where it's at a medium angle, and then open up even further where it's at a long angle. So by long I mean where your leg is almost straight. And you can also do it with both single leg and double leg. So those are ways that you can actually play with this exercise, again, to maximize strength in those muscles around the knee and the hip joint at different lengths, and again with both double leg and single leg. So this is the lying down isometrics. The one in the leg press was the seated isometric. And as I mentioned before, if you have access to spotting bars or spotting arms that can actually slot into the rack without moving and allow you to push upwards, then you can make use of standing exercises. Otherwise you can just do standing isometrics with weights in your hand. And like I said, if you haven't checked out my ankle strengthening video where I do have other isometrics in there, you can also check that out as well. So guys, those are the exercises. I hope they've been helpful for you. Let me know in the comment section below, what isometrics do you do in your training to help you develop strength in that way? Let me know in the comment section below. But if you like the video, please give it a big thumbs up to help me accelerate my channel, to let the algorithm know and so that more athletes like you can see this video. And if you haven't checked out my video about ground contact time, which is what I mentioned earlier, then check that out over here. And if you haven't checked out this video that YouTube recommends is best for you, then check that out next. And I'll see you guys on another Friday. Bye guys.